Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the latest gaming news with your host, V-Gaming Junkie. The Dross quit over disagreements regarding hats, so there's nothing but pure gaming-related meatiness. It is all about that electronic good stuff as we dive deep into all that's new in the various interactive virtual worlds. We start out this week's news video with a funeral service. Though I have no doubt the vast majority of people saw the writing on the wall, Comcast has officially shut down G4TV. The reason given was not achieving sustainable financial results. This isn't exactly surprising given it was in a downward spiral, but it's a shame nonetheless. While blame tends to fall on Froskin for very good reason, I feel it's important to point out that this demise was a team sport. After all, someone else did agree to put her rant into the teleprompter, and higher-ups and editors decided to keep the rant in. Not to mention, Frosk is hardly the only one that's acted in an unprofessional manner here. Adam Sessler, for example, has actually wished death on all the Republicans in his own family. Regardless of what political stance you have, wishing death on family members for their political opinion is just plain sadistic. Moreover, as I've mentioned before, the concept was probably doomed from the beginning. Maybe if it was just a YouTube channel or something similar with a much smaller budget, it could have worked. Had they been pro-gamer and pro-fan, it could have even been a breath of fresh air for many. Instead, they decided to antagonize people. Even before her infamous rant, Frosk was already in hot water for labeling the PS5 as a dead man walking. I'm no fan of the system either, and Sony's made more than a few blunders, but I certainly wouldn't antagonize the entire system because of it. Rest in peace, G4TV. I'd like to hope they will serve as a reminder of what happens when you attack your own fans, but that's a trend I don't see dying anytime soon. At least not until all these companies that continuously do it financially die themselves. This next news story is significantly more serious in nature. Feel free to use the timestamps below to skip along because it's going to be a pretty touchy subject. The spicy Twitch streamer known as Amouranth is accusing her husband of abusing and controlling her. As reported on by Bounding Into Comics, she made this claim in a livestream on the 15th that she has since deleted. According to Amouranth, it was her husband Lee's idea to present herself as this sexy and vaguely single girl to draw on the male viewers. According to her, Lee even shot down an idea of being streamed together because he didn't want to ruin the business model. Presumably the business model of giving desperate single guys false hope. She even showed a series of text messages that are allegedly him swearing at her about a plan and screaming at her to step outside. Disturbingly, Amouranth was even in a phone call with him and suggested that he threatened to kill her dogs. As if that wasn't bad enough, she claims he broke the lock on her door, took her phone, and threw furniture at her wall. There's also a claim she's had as little as 3 to 5 hours of sleep due to being forced to stream long hours by him. There's a lot more to this article, but these are some serious accusations to say the least. Obviously, though, accusations don't automatically mean they're true, and plenty of people are perhaps understandably skeptical. Please don't take this to mean Lee is automatically guilty of doing these things. There should be proper investigations and procedures to be followed. I think Johnny Depp is a cold reminder that we shouldn't be so quick to assume someone is guilty. That being said, if they do turn out to be true, then my heart goes out to Amouranth. Nobody deserves to be put through this. I feel I should mention that Amouranth has made a follow-up video. It seems hearing himself over that phone call has opened up Lee's eyes to how detestable he was acting, and yeah, it painted him in a very bad light. She claims that he's getting help, that she got access to her financial accounts again, and is seeking legal and emotional counsel. That's perhaps the biggest pitfall of this current format of mine. While once per week is much more frequent than once every 2 weeks, a great deal can still happen in 1 week. Occasionally, things will change over time, so I may have to make updates like this one, so bear with me. It seems there's a bit of a fiasco regarding Bayonetta's voice in Bayonetta 3. Helena Taylor has said she was offered merely $4,000 to play the voice, deemed insultingly low, and encouraged people to boycott the game over it. While I don't know all the details, there's something about this that kind of confuses me. If they just wanted to cheap out, why is it Jennifer Hale of all people she's being replaced with? It's not as though Jennifer is an unknown voice actor. She famously did Female Shepard on Mass Effect. Having since seen a video made by Rob Gaming on the subject, I think he makes some fairly good points. That those are mostly the major roles she's had, with her last actress credit being all the way back in 2014. Helena hasn't really been doing a lot of major roles apart from Bayonetta and hasn't been getting her name out there. Jennifer, on the other hand, has a much more massive list of roles she's done, from Samus in Metroid Prime to Ashe in Overwatch and a myriad of other voices. Saying Jennifer has no right to sign Bayonetta merchandise is also a little shady. Call out Platinum Games if you want, but this isn't your replacement's fault. My stance on this is probably about the same as Rob's, that neither side is really clean from this. Helena maybe could have been paid better since she's done Bayonetta and a few things, but she hasn't exactly been getting herself out there very much either. At least nowhere near as much as Jennifer Hale, hence why I don't think Platinum Games did it just to cheap out. Had she proactively sought out more roles during this gap, I'm sure she'd have more negotiating power. They just didn't feel she was worth all that much, and we can agree to disagree if she's actually worth more than that. It seems we have another news story that requires an update. According to Bloomberg, Platinum offered her $3 to $4 grand per session, not altogether. This would have been planned for 5 sessions, meaning she was offered at least 15 grand for all of it. Supposedly, this is a serious leap compared to Bayonetta 2, which is especially impressive given the gap in her resume. Allegedly, Taylor wanted a 6-figure payment, something Platinum declined to give to her. Honestly, the more I hear about this, the worse it looks for Helena. It was already bad enough that she called for a boycott of the game over and trashed on Jennifer Hale. If this turns out to be true, then she was also being deceptive about the actual amount she was being offered. Reportedly, she was even offered a chance to cameo once her voice was being replaced, and predictably she turned them down. Not video game related, but something I found ridiculous and almost amusing anyway. It seems the head writer of She-Hulk, Jessica, almost quit the series. Now, I'm of the opinion that this show has been largely nothing short of a dumpster fire, so you can imagine any number of things to be disagreeable with. However, what they butted heads over is far more ridiculous than you're probably thinking of. If you care for the She-Hulk show, note that there are spoilers ahead. Utilize the timestamps, you've been warned. It seems in the season finale, She-Hulk enters the real world in Marvel Studios. Ignoring just how completely stupid that sounds, there was a robot based on Kevin and they were going to give it a baseball cap. Kevin actually disagreed with this, thinking it wouldn't make any sense. Because the show series about a radioactive lawyer who can do no wrong will have its suspension of disbelief done in by a baseball cap. Jessica actually threatened to walk away over this and Kevin was going to let her leave over it. What I'm going to say probably sounds exceedingly harsh, but get over it, you babies. Someone named Sweet Jackson Z had to step in and suggest incorporating the design of something that looks similar to a baseball cap to the robot. So Jessica decided not to quit the show over a freaking baseball cap after all. Meanwhile, the show continues to be a huge disappointment for the vast majority of She-Hulk fans, but you know how priorities are. If, however, you like this show, that's perfectly fine. Unlike some, I don't make a habit of treating people as less for having personal opinions that disagree with my own. Because I'm not a whiny, spoiled cry, but anyway, moving on. In other news, EA believes Battlefield could benefit over Call of Duty becoming Microsoft exclusive. I wonder how they could have possibly figured that one out. Clearly they are ace detectives that would put Sherlock Holmes to shame. Seriously though, I imagine it's pretty easy to figure out why Battlefield would benefit from the PS5 no longer getting its biggest competitor. Not to say Battlefield has been very palatable these days, with Battlefield 5 being a letdown and Battlefield 2042 being described as a broken embarrassment. As reported by Bounding into Comics, it was actually glitchy enough that Steam allowed refunds beyond the 2-hour cutoff period. And I guess it makes sense if anyone who played it might think the glitches are just them being unlucky and that they might clear up after a while. Andrew Wilson, to his slight credit, was at least being honest for once when he said the questions of COD's future would be a tremendous opportunity. Especially since Sony tends to hypocritically be all about exclusive and timed exclusive deals. Just offer Sony some incentive to make your Battlefield content appear first or even exclusively on PlayStation and watch the money roll in. At least after the 3 years that Microsoft promised to keep it on PlayStation. After that, it's up in the air, though a Microsoft spokesperson did say it wouldn't make much sense to deprive the PlayStation of it. Either way, you can bet EA will try to take advantage of the situation any way they can, but I doubt they'll stop playing second fiddle to Call of Duty anytime soon. Now here's a relatively lighthearted story. Minecraft is introducing 2 brand new mobs into its ranks. The first one is, interestingly enough, a camel. There isn't too much to be said about the humble little camel. It's a neutral mob and will spit at you if you attack it. Kind of reminds me of a certain camel from Donkey Kong 64, minus the spit magically turning lava into water, but I digress. Giving them dates will tame them so you can ride them, and if you want to kill them, it nets you leather. All in all, not a bad little addition. It's something for the desert environments that tend to be more devoid of mobs and fits pretty well, and you can even roleplay as Joseph Joestar. The other mob being added was actually voted by the community, interestingly enough. This other mob is called a sniffer, an extinct mob that resembles a turtle. Its eggs can be found inside of underwater ruins and hatches into babies of your very own. They can sniff out seeds, seemingly from rare decorative plants like types of flowers, so you can farm more of them. It's definitely a somewhat unique trait among mobs, and the whole angle of them being extinct means you have to find them like their treasure first. And as always, straight out of the oven of Games Radar, it's time for the latest batch of release dates. The 25th has Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord for PlayStation and Xbox, as well as Victoria 3 for PC. The 27th starts with Arkanoid Eternal Battle for the 6 major platforms, Brewmaster for the 5 home consoles, and Gunfire Reborn for Series X. It continues with Horse Club Adventures 2 Hazelwood Stories for PC, Xbox, and Switch, as well as Moonshining for PC. It continues yet further with Papercut Mansion for the 6 major platforms, Pinball Wizard for PC and Switch, and Sackboy Big Adventure for PC. It rounds out with Saturnalia for the 6 platforms, Star Ocean the Divine Force for PC, PlayStation, and Xbox, and Warhammer 40,000 Inquisitor Martyr for PS5 and Series X. The 28th begins with Bayonetta 3 for Switch, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 for PC, PlayStation, and Xbox, and Factorio for Switch. Finally, the 28th concludes with Live by the Sword Tactics for Xbox One and Switch, and Resident Evil Reverse for PC, PS4, and Xbox One. This week's epic freebie until next Thursday is Evo Land the Legendary Edition, 2 different types of RPGs that change in graphical style as you play them. But wait, there's more! There's also Fallout 3 Game of the Year Edition. Aside from just sounding really tacky, the Game of the Year editions usually just mean they came out with all the DLC. In other words, the different worlds of Fallout 3, like the Pit and Broken Steel, which is basically the real ending to Fallout 3 Fight Me, are also included. And that concludes the news broadcast as always. I hope you found it entertaining and informative. If you good people want more content, I Let's Play every single day at high noon, live stream Mondays and Thursdays unless otherwise specified at 4:30 p.m., and I do news videos like this one every Friday at 6 p.m. All in Eastern Standard Time, of course. If you're a real junkie for all things gaming like I am, then feel free to hit that subscribe and bell icon to get your next fix. A like and a comment are always appreciated for that engagement, but I just hope you genuinely enjoyed yourself, and that is it for now. Thank you so much for tuning in with me. Spread this video around like the sheer amount of contempt that many entertainment companies nowadays have towards their own fans, and I'll see you next time. Capitalize on life, peace out, have a good one, and I'll see you next time.